Hi, this is an explanation of how I made this graph showing that the NDP have the lowest unemployment rate performance of provincial parties in power from 1976 to 2018. It's based on the Statistics Canada Table 14-10-0078-01 and the timeline of Canadian elections on Wikipedia. You could look at this spreadsheet yourself by going to this link. So let's look at the timeline of Canadian elections first. It has the timeline of all the elections in Canada in its history. And has a table which is color-coded with the different party colors. Let's go to the relevant years. I'm going to start in 1976 because it's the data that Statistics Canada has. Notice the color coding, like I said. And notice that the provinces are given in the proper geographical order on this source, which is not the same as the order in the StatsCan data. Let's go to the StatsCan table. You could search for it using this. Okay, so we have to select the data here. We want to get the provinces and not the federal ones, so we'll unselect Canada and select the provinces. We don't need all these different rates, we just want the official unemployment rate. So I'll click here to select all, click again to unselect all, and then click just the official rate. This one we could leave the same. This one we could leave as it is. Here we'll go to the earliest year available, and 2018 is the last year available. For the layout, we'll have the reference period as a row because that's how the timeline of elections gives it. And apply. So here we go. As I mentioned, the StatsCan tables give the provinces in the reverse geography. We'll have to watch out for that. And also I'd like to point out down here the source of this data, the official unemployment rate, is the Labor Force Survey. There's lots of people sharing the myth that somehow the employment rate data is determined by the employment insurance program. It isn't. The Labor Force Survey doesn't even ask about whether you're on EI or not. You could search for the questionnaire if you want to verify that. Okay, and then you could download this data. I recommend CSV without the accompanying symbols. They screw up your calculation sometimes if they have a letter next to a number. And they have this neat feature where you could save your selections. It puts it all into one URL. And you could copy it, and I use that and put it here in case you don't want to have to go through all the clicking that I did to get the data selected. And here's the link to the timeline of Canadian elections if you need that too. Okay, so let's look at how I calculated these things. First let's look at the data just downloaded. One thing I did add here was provincial averages. But here's the data you saw before on their own webpage. Okay, and then notice I made 3 tabs, one for each party, because that makes the calculations much easier. So I have the time of elections data with the order reversed, so it matches the StatsCan data. And then I deleted all the data that wasn't for the particular party that the tab belongs to. That makes doing the calculations very easy, because you could do a simple formula like this that takes the average from all the data in the rectangle here, in this example from P11, this corner, to this other corner here, K53. Okay, and the same pattern applies for getting the count of the data points, calculating the standard deviation, and the confidence interval. This is calculated as it says here. You do 1 minus the desired confidence level. So I did 1 minus 0.95 to get that. The standard deviation from E55, and the population size from here. So then this data is transferred over to the summary graph. As you can see here, it references the NDP tab and K55, which if we look back, K55 is the average, right? And so forth for the 95% confidence interval, which is used to make these bars here. And I also did a t-test to see if the difference between the parties is significant or not at the 0.05 p level. And the formula for that is it takes one range, again from one quarter to the other for one party, and then the second range for the other party. It's a two-tailed test, and this selection is for a test that doesn't presume that the different parties have the same number of years in power. So their variances are not going to be equal. It doesn't assume that they're equal, so it takes that into account. And as you can see here, NDP versus liberal and NDP versus conservative is very significant. Liberal and conservative, not quite. As you can kind of see with their confidence intervals here. I think that's about it. Have fun double checking this data. Thanks.